Hey y'all. So I don't have my tiny mic right now because what I realized is the tiny mic that I bought was actually for Androids. I'm not gonna let this tiny mic struggle get to me. I came to talk to y'all today about gray area addiction. My mother was a drug addict and an alcoholic. My father was also a drug addict. And my father died of a heroin overdose in 2017. It was fentanyl and heroin. My mother was clean and sober, but when she passed away, it was a result, I believe, of not being able to take narcotics for pain. And one of her tubes was removed after a surgery, one of her drainage tubes, and something about, I'm still kind of cloudy on that. But I say that to say, my father was an active drug addict. My mother was a recovering drug addict. I know that, and then I have family before that have had drug problems, and it's a thing. I am a firm believer in genetic predisposition to addiction. I know this because I have an addictive personality. So while alcohol has never necessarily been a concern because it's just like you feel like crappy drinking too much anyway, I still can drink. I know I can throw it back. So what gray area addiction is, and I've been looking into this for years, it's the idea that we look at people who have addictions like my parents had, where it impacted their livelihood, their lives, their quality of life. They lose things. My mother lost custody of her children at one point. She gained it back. Of the rest of her children, I never got a chance for that to be my experience. My father never even tried, seemingly. So I don't really know what his story was as far as like his battle with drug addiction. I don't know how that looked, but I was with my mother for most of hers. And I do mean like literally with her, in positions with her, and in places with her. My mother really put me through a lot with her addiction. So, but we look at those people and we say that's addiction, but we don't look at our friends who go, or we don't look at ourselves when we go to happy hour every day after work, and we have to have that 1 or 2 or 3 glasses of whatever, or shots or whatever. We don't look at the person who smokes weed every single day, and say that's not addiction because they're functional. I actually I was raised by a functional heroin addict in my household. I used to find needles. There used to be clean pee in the refrigerator because she had a job. She passed away and still was on her job. Not at work, but like she still had her job. She was there like 25 years. And when I found her paperwork, when she passed away, I found some documentation. Every morning, matter of fact, when I was young, she used to every Saturday be like, I got to go down to the clinic. And I never knew what the clinic was, but I remember it always included breakfast and Burger King. And I got dropped off at a babysitter's house, and she would come pick me back up. We would go home, and it was like nothing ever happened. So this whole time I'm growing up with a functional addict in my household, and I am participating in her going to the methadone clinic. When she passed away, her documents said that she was on like 4 to 5 bags a day or something crazy like that. I could not tell you how, but it was a running joke with me and my friends, because one, she had burn holes all in her nightgowns. She had burn holes all in her bed and bed sheets. And she would be talking to me or my friends, like, especially me. I grew up with this woman. I used to spend time with her. Like, she was like my aunt. And she would just doze off while we was talking. She was just, and I'm a child. I don't understand. I swear to you, I can remember the thoughts I had. I thought she was just immensely tired from work. I swear to you, that was how my mind worked. I was like, damn, what is she like? This lady tired, like work. That was like me understanding what adulthood looked like, was exhaustion, because I didn't know she was on heroin. Like, I'm telling you. So I understand addiction. And what I now recognize is that I have a gray area addiction, and has been weed. I was smoking every day. And I like weed, and it's not impacted me being able to get up and go to work. It's not impacted like my friendships or relationships. As a matter of fact, I often have bonded with my friends while we smoke a joint or a blunt or something. What I recognize though is that during all of that, I've been having a completely different experience with marijuana, with cannabis. So although it didn't impact those really big things, I could feel it. Of course, with my breathing was impacted. I didn't feel great every day. And I don't mean mentally. I mean, like, literally, I physically didn't feel my best every day. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Richmond, and I went to the James River. There's a bridge, and it's a really nice bridge, and I don't know if I'm going to point to the corners of the screen like they do on YouTube videos. If I can edit some of the footage in, I will. But it was a really pretty area, and the water was so loud that you couldn't hear the city noises. And I have been praying like, God, I really want to live a clean, sober life. Now, I have abstained from alcohol before for the most time was 1.5 years. And when I started drinking after that, it was on accident. I went to dinner or breakfast with my ex, and she ordered an alcoholic beverage. I didn't. And they brought us the wrong drinks, but you couldn't taste the alcohol. I got halfway through the drink, and I'm like, why do I feel like, ooh? And it was because I had drank alcohol. So in my mind, I had broke the seal. That day we went out and drank more, and I just never stopped again. But I definitely kind of fell back on how much I had been drinking after that. But I had been praying and really meditating on, but not really acting on wanting a sober life. And if you've had a conversation with me in the past, you know that this is something that I have wanted. I have talked about sobriety, and it's been a challenge. And I had to ask myself, like, well, why is this so hard? And this is for a few reasons. Like, we give ourselves so much leeway. Oh, it's just a drink on this. And like, well, it's only a drink when you go do this, or, there's nothing wrong with moderation. And there's nothing wrong with moderation for someone who can handle moderation. And it has been such a difficult thing to admit to myself that with certain things, I can't do moderation, because there always will be a reason why I can drink, why I can smoke. Oh, just on the weekends. Like, no, I cannot handle it, because then I will give myself more reason during the week. Oh, it's, I'm getting ready for work, or I'm going to do this. I know now that in order for me to really attain my goal of sobriety, I'm going to have to completely cut those things out. And it's crazy because I've never just flat out said this like this. Like, I have a gray area addiction, because while I'm not losing my livelihood or anything like that, I still do feel when I'm smoking every day, I'm like, oh, I need to smoke, or I'll go take a smoke break, or I'll go smoke before I eat, or I'll smoke. Like, I was doing too much, and I can feel it in my body. I can see it. It's aging me. And, people say, oh, you look good for 40, blah, blah, blah. I probably would look better without these habits. Now, cannabis in itself is not a bad thing. And this is not a judgment on people who smoke every day. I'm just telling you what I'm feeling and experiencing. I still do plan on consuming CBD, because that has been very helpful and beneficial for me for pain management, like with cramps and stuff like that. And also when I think about the entire plant, like having the leaves for tea or consuming them in smoothies, because cannabis has healing benefits. It's a plant from the earth. What I'm saying is that the way that I was consuming in my relationship with cannabis had become abusive in my mind. It's hard to say this because then there's judgment, like, oh, well, just because you can't handle it don't mean. And so that's why I'm saying I'm not judging anybody who doesn't feel this way, but I'm telling you, like, I am 40 years old and it has impacted me physically. And I'm saying physically, and I'm not excluding my mental health. I would feel my breathing being labored. I wouldn't feel completely rested. I was not getting good sleep. I was, I would eat bad when I, smoke. It wasn't good for me the way I was consuming it. My relationship with it was not healthy. So I went to Richmond 2 weeks ago, sat on this bridge and meditated. This water, I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to edit in the sound and the visual. I meditated for about 7 minutes, and the imagery and the sounds drowned everything out. So it was just me and God, and the messaging was just so clear, and it just was like, stop. Very simple. And in my mind, when I did mushrooms in 2021, that is when I had the breakthrough about my sexuality, and I didn't really acknowledge it at that time. It took a year or some change to get to the point where I was from the visual and the message to actually execution. But I learned from that experience that thing that I see and hear and feel, I don't necessarily need mushrooms. That I still believe in shrooms. I will still do shrooms, and I don't use them recreationally. I would microdose or do scheduled, planned, monitored trips with a trip sitter. So shrooms have been very beneficial for my mental health and my development as a woman. But what I'm saying is I learned how to hear myself in my shroom experience. And I haven't done shrooms in quite some time, because shrooms are those, for me, shrooms have been the thing where I got what I needed out of it, and it was so much information and so many downloads that I'm like, I still got to pick through that stuff. It's time for another trip, so I'm going to plan that. But I learned how to hear myself, though, through that trip. I learned that when my mind or whatever is up here talking to me is telling me something, to listen. So it just was like, stop. Like, nope, no more. And I was in Richmond with my man. And when we got back to his house, I had weed with me. I threw it out. And I haven't smoked since. And I've had offers, just like normal stuff that normally I'd be like, yeah, girl, come on, let's. But this is a very interesting dynamic that I don't know that I've shared with too many people. I don't know that I've shared it with I've not shared it with too many people. Because it doesn't sound as serious. And then you might look at my life and say, well, how do you have an addiction? And it's like, because it's a gray area addiction, and a lot of people deal with it for different things, different addictions. I'm just very clear on what this is that I'm dealing with. And I used to go to meetings with my mom, AA meetings and NA meetings. And so I learned a lot about the 12 steps and working the steps, and understanding that the first part of all of that is just admitting that there's a problem. And this is me saying, I've grown to have a problematic relationship with cannabis. Period. Again, this is very hard to say, because I feel like it opens me up to judgment. But for some people, it's cannabis. For some people, it's maybe harder drug. Well, it's obviously harder drugs for some people. And that's when you get into full-blown addiction. For some people, it's alcohol. For some people, it's the internet. For some people, it's porn or corn. Am I supposed to say porn? Whatever. For some people, it's adult films. For some people, it's actual sex. Like, we all could probably point to something in our lives that has got more of a stronghold over us than we want to talk about. And because a lot of our addictions or gray area addictions are private, and we can get away with nobody seeing them, we don't talk about it, and we just battle with it in ourselves. We battle with it internally, and we go back and forth, and everybody's battle is different. For me, it wasn't necessarily like I was having internal turmoil, or I was like, oh no, what am I gonna? It's just like, no, this is a problem. I can see these things show up in my physical appearance. I can see it show up in how I feel physically, and also to my mental health. I believe it probably did impact me in some ways, but I'm just really aware to the point where I was like, this is not, I don't want this. Like, I want to know what my body's potential is. And this has been something, not just the cannabis, but I've struggled with getting to the other side of my discipline for years. I don't know discipline outside of survival. I don't know discipline other than involuntarily having to do a thing for however long so that I don't die or the bottom don't fall out. I don't know discipline voluntarily. And that is my current, I'm not going to call it a struggle. It's just my current opportunity for growth. Is what is discipline when you sign up for it? I don't know that. And I had to really talk to myself about it, because I'm like, I would beat down on myself like, you can't do nothing. Like, you keep telling yourself you're going to do this, but you don't do it. Like, really hard on myself about not accomplishing things. When the reality is that I have not had the structure, discipline, and order in my life to just jump up and start one day. It's very difficult for me right now with establishing discipline. And some might say, oh, you own a business, you must have some discipline. No, my business was started out of a sense of survival. I don't like having a limit on my income, and I was dealing with depression and feeling really, really sucky about working for somebody else. I felt anger and angst. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. And it drove me to this point, but I didn't necessarily take business classes or read any books, or I know how to count money. I know how to subtract, add, multiply, and divide, and I'm good with people. And I knew the basics of waxing, and I knew what I needed to do to get out of my situation. But I don't look at that as like voluntary. I look at it as though it felt like survival, because I am just now learning how to live. I am just now learning what thriving feels like and living, just regular living. And so everything I've done up until about 2 years ago has always felt like survival. It has always been rooted in survival. I am just now making decisions from a space of living and enjoying and feeling like I have options and things like that. And that's what people don't talk about. Like, survival is rough. And if you've ever been in survival mode, you know the feeling. So this is another thing. I don't, like cannabis, like smoking weed it's fun. I have fun when I do it, and I meditate and I paint sometimes, and I go dancing. It's like I have fun. It's not like it has been tearing my life up, but it's the very small things that, like, snowflakes become avalanches. I live by that. It don't matter how small the habit is. It is absolutely snowballing into something else, and it's impacting you in another area of your life. I'm able to see where it impacted me, even if it's imperceptible to the naked eye for other people. I know the ways in which this gray area addiction that I have, because one addiction will fuel another. So you look at, you smoking weed every day, you're doing this and this, now you can't put your phone down, or now you're doing this all the, like, I want to live a structured life. And this part leads me to the conversation that I really feel like we abuse grace. I don't want to give myself reactive grace. I would like to give myself proactive grace. Yes, Lana, I know you want to do that thing, and I understand why. It makes sense for you that this is something you would do, an action you would take, but you shouldn't do it, because proactive grace comes with proactive understanding of consequences. Proactive grace comes with proactive advice on how not to do it. Foresight. Hindsight is 2020, but foresight is 2022. We have to do a better job at looking at a thing we're about to do and say, how is this going to impact me in the long run? And at 40, I now recognize that it's nothing new under the sun. And if I had an issue with this thing before, I'm probably going to have an issue with it again. And maybe the issue looks different because I'm in a different space in life, but there's nothing new under the sun. So I stopped smoking weed. And I don't know what day I'm on. I didn't even think about counting the days, because I just stopped. I said I'm going to stop. And the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So I'm starting there. I have something going on this weekend, and I know that I'm going to consume alcohol. And I know that right now that environment will not, I don't have the I don't have it right now to like not do it. It's too much going on to not drink. So I'm going to give myself permission to drink this weekend. But after Sunday, that's cut out. And again, for some people hearing this, it might sound so dramatic. Like, oh, like what? Or it might sound dramatic, or it might make you believe that it is more of an issue than it really is. And I'm just here to tell you that we have to allow people to not be completely downtrodden and woe is me, and also not take it lightly. That is what gray area anything is. Gray area addiction is just that. No, I'm not over here secretly struggling with this battle, but I also recognize that this is negatively impacting the goals I have set out for myself. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about that because this new part of my life I'm in, I'm 40, I'm divorced, I'm in a new relationship. I'm moving in the direction of my dreams and my goals. I'm doing things I want to do, and life feels different. I want different things for my life. And the only way I'm going to get those is literally by doing things differently. And it is hard. It feels difficult. I feel challenged even thinking about it. I feel unsure of myself. I feel like I am running back in my mind the ways in which I've disappointed myself in the past. In the ways in which that I've not been able to maintain these things. I'm going over the ways in which I have given myself too much or been too laxed around, the things I'm doing. And I'm thinking about all of that. But I can only take things one day at a time. And I got to worry about today. I didn't smoke today. And I didn't drink today. But see, you might hear that and that sounds very intense. But it's like, that's everything. One day at a time. We're doing everything. We are living life one day at a time. And part of where we struggle with anxiety and depression and all of these things outside of chemical imbalance is that we are taking too much on our plate at once. Today I didn't smoke. Tomorrow I'm going to try. But I can do things. I can employ things to where I won't. I don't have to go to the little weed shops I like to go to. I can say no. No is a full sentence. And I can say it with full love and support of whoever around me is smoking or doing whatever. But I can say no. And all I got to worry about right now is doing those two things. And the rest will come unto me. I pray if you are battling with something, whether it's a strong battle where you really feeling down and smiling on the outside and you people don't know, but you dealing with it. I pray that you find your balance. Know that you can change your life and don't think you got to change it all at once. And I pray that if you might be having thoughts in your head, but you taking it lightly, that you start taking it more seriously. You know the ways in which your habits are impacting you. You know that. Stop lying to yourself and stop being delusional. If you know something is negatively impacting you and becoming an obstacle for your overall development, like, get serious about it. I don't have a roadmap. I know that all I can do is start with being honest with myself and being realistic and really taking into account what I come from and who I come from, and understanding that I don't have the luxury of everybody who can just I don't have the same luxuries genetically in my mind as other people do. And I take addiction very seriously, and I'm grateful that it's just weed I feel this way about. I'm grateful it's not alcohol I feel this way about, because that would be worse. I don't know if one is worse than the other, but I'm grateful that all I have to do right now is quit smoking. And that'll solve some of the things that I feel like I can see impacting me negatively. So I just wanted to talk about that because it was on my heart, and it's something I'm currently experiencing. And no, my life is not falling apart, and it has not been falling apart. But I just recognize that some of my habits aren't helpful. Period. As a 40-year-old woman, I would like to have beautiful skin. I would like to age well. I would like to have a healthy body, healthy mind. I would like for my lungs to function. I would like to have good gut health. And oftentimes, because we don't see the immediate impacts of the things we do, we think we're fine. But I always tell, especially like when my younger clients come in and they're like turning another year older, I'm like, whatever you're doing now is for yourself 10 years from now. And so I'm looking at myself at 40. Got a little mascara under my eye. I'm looking at myself at 40, and I see everything I've done through my 30s. I can see those good and bad habits. I can tell that I live a very active lifestyle because I commute and I walk and I'm very, very active. I can see that in my physique, and I have so my camera cut off because I guess there's a time limit. I'm going to figure this thing out. But anyway, the last video left off. This shirt is really blousy. I said I have a gut, but I promise it ain't. This shirt is blousy. Bottom line, if you knew the better that I knew, if you knew the information that I already have, that I have not been employing in my life, it's almost offensive. It's egregious. The past 15 years of my life, the information that I have acquired about health and wellness, fitness and nutrition, if you knew the better I knew. So, in honor of the better that I know, one day at a time, I will employ better. And as I am doing this one day at a time, I'm recognizing that it is definitely difficult the older you get. It is more difficult the more you bear down into your bad habits. It gets harder. There is no magic, I'm going to just pop up one day. Those people are outliers. Don't let nobody fool you and tell you they just popped up one day and changed. They did, but they're outliers. For the most part, this shit is hard. So I didn't smoke today. I didn't drink today. I eat well overall. It's just when I'm not eating well, it ain't even like fast food that's my issue. I spend money like a drug dealer at dinner, and I like steak and lobster and shit like that. So like it ain't even that I gotta get unhooked off of fast food or junk. It's just that I like decadent, rich, really nicely curated eating experiences. So that doesn't feel as challenging. The nutritional aspect ain't really my problem. I can do that, and I just literally, I can do that. That doesn't feel daunting to me. The rest of it does. So celebrate yourself for what you didn't do today. Whatever that thing is that you're battling with, that you're struggling with, celebrate you didn't do it today. And if you can't even, don't count the day. It's 2:07 on Wednesday, December 13th. You ain't done that thing yet. And I'm here to encourage you, don't do it. Whatever that thing is you've been telling yourself you're going to stop, minute by minute, if that's how you got to chomp down the moments, moment by moment, bite by bite, snowflake by snowflake, deconstruct the avalanche. Save yourself. I love you, and I hope you love yourself. You're going to be all right. You can do this one day at a time, one moment at a time. And I'm going to share this journey too with you, because I could look at my face. My under eyes definitely be struggling. I could see the fluff in my face, and I could post pictures or videos. I posted a picture on my Instagram where I turned my face to the side. Listen, look at yourself. Anytime you're ready to do that thing you ain't supposed to be doing, look at yourself and see it. See it in your face, because you can. The body doesn't lie, and the body keeps score. It's always going to tell you what you've been doing. I could look at my body and tell you exactly what I've been doing, and I still somehow every day at one point was choosing it again. For me, it was weed. So I didn't smoke today, and I'll worry about tomorrow when it gets to me, God willing. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up. Remember, y'all, this is a blousy shirt, and my boobs ain't even really this big. Like, this is crazy, but I don't care. It's the message that I want y'all to get. So it's just, I was bloated today, and I just didn't feel like putting on nothing tight fitted. Plus, my body is showing my habits from the past month, and it's not even, it's definitely some extra weight, but it's definitely inflammation. And so now I gotta, ain't you tired of starting over? I'm so tired of starting over. I'm tired of starting over. I'm tired of starting over. So me and my blousy shirt is gonna go. But bye.